before starting your session, I want to introduce you to our audience. Priyanka is a holistic life coach and founder of the Healer's Diary, offering an integrative approach to wellness rooted in both structure and spirituality. With a background in law and training in India and Thailand, she blends mindfulness, cleaning hypnotherapy, energy healing, and trauma informed care. Her work emphasizes emotional clarity, presence, and initiative healing. Priyanka is dedicated to supporting personal and collective transformation through soul led guidance. She brings a unique depth to coaching by uniting professional knowledge with deep spiritual insight. You have done a really wonderful job, and the stage is all yours.
All right, thank you very much. So, hello to everybody, and thank you for sharing this space with me today. Now, you're going to see that the title that I've chosen is The Stillness That Leads. Now, why I actually chose this title is because, from my experience till now, and also because of various encounters in my personal and professional journey, because at the moment I'm actually working as a wellness professional in a rehab for active addiction, and all the different people I get to meet, all the different journey and stories and people I'm really grateful to meet. Stillness is really one of the key element that makes a difference about how we really live our life and take ourselves forward on our healing journey. Um, I've also come to believe that the most transformational leaders are often the ones who've learned how to pause in the stillness of the moment in order to lead the way forward. So, you must have guessed that when it comes to today's topic, we are not going to talk about the principles per se about management, pillars of leadership, which I'm sure a lot of you are already aware of. So you can say that my intention is much more to elaborate on one of the key ingredients that represents the foundation of every mindful leader. And for me, a mindful leader would be someone that practices the art of listening before speaking, feeling before reacting, which is getting into a response, and leading without leaving themselves behind. And that space, I believe it's very important, and which is actually what I shall call as stillness. This concept, I'm sure you're very familiar about it when we talk about emotional intelligence, self awareness, social awareness, self competence, social competence, and everything that comes with it. But what makes the difference is, are we actually allowing ourselves to have a space within ourselves so that we are able to be regulated enough in order to put all of these into practice? So, without further ado, I'm going to bring the slides online. Okay. All right. So, here we go. Now, so essentially, the stillness that leads. So you're going to see over here that stillness definitely that we want to bring forward, it's not about silence. It's not a lofty ideal or luxury that's reserved for those who have more time. It's very much about practicing presence, especially when we are so much into a lot of pressure in our daily life or daily basis. And it's essentially about um, developing, or it's more about working a little bit more in depth about what is it that we have within and be in touch with that in our daily life. All right. So today's agenda is definitely going to be about why stillness is key to leadership. We will also look about what I consider to be the main anchors or the three dimension whenever we are talking about leadership and stillness, because stillness can represent an as a space for strategic capacity, stillness as emotional leadership, and stillness as relational presence. Now, leadership, you will see that this is a term that is very commonly used in boardrooms or very much used in corporate setting, But you and I, we both know that leadership is a relational skill. It goes much beyond that. Each one of us, we are already practicing leadership skills in various areas of our life. Whether we are attending to the tantrums of our children, whether we are holding the space for our loved one or for our colleague, and all about these, it really brings forward about our own capacity to be there for others. But the tricky thing is sometimes we may forget ourselves or bypass ourselves in the process of attending to others. And essentially, you're going to see why stillness is that important, because now, mm, more today than before, I'm not sure how things are nowadays, because back then, when I used to be in law school, we had the term rat race competition, how things were really, really tight and really competitive, pressure, performance, effectiveness, all of these jargon. And recently, I'm hearing a lot of people say it's like a cutthroat competition. It's quite difficult out there to honor, to value our feelings, work through our feelings and emotion while we have to meet a certain performance in whatever role that we are having out there. So this is why here I really wanted to bring forward to you, whenever we're talking about leadership from my perspective, which is much more a mindful perspective, a humanistic perspective, is leadership is no longer about how quickly we act. It's about how deeply we process, how safely we show up, and how intentionally we choose what truly matters, right? Because at the basis of everything, we are human beings. We are human beings that's making choices every single day. But the state in which we actually create and make these decisions is what I believe what really much makes the difference. So now, so as we're saying, we're going to look at it in three perspective. So essentially, how we will go about, I will actually be introducing you to some models. So the models is going to be very much based on somatic, which is the importance of working with your body so that you are able to regulate your emotions better as a leader. It's the same way when we say, let's say you're getting ready for public speaking. You know your speech, you know your stuff, or let's say you're getting ready for an important board meeting. You know everything. But then, if you're not regulated in your body enough, sometime we may feel we get a blank, or we don't feel confident enough, or we don't feel present enough, because essentially our body is so activated by any kind of stressor, environmental, physical, relational, anything that may come to your mind. And then what happens is we are not actually able to deliver everything that we already know because the body was dysregulated, right? So that's why everything starts with the body. So taking to this example, let's say you're getting ready for a public speaking competition, you've memorized everything, and then when you just get on stage, it's maybe the jaw is getting tight, or maybe your heart is beating really fast, and all of a sudden it's like a blank. And the key is something maybe you may hear your friend saying, look, just take a deep breath, or before you even get into the boardroom, just give you that 1 second of grace, or that one breath of grace, remembering you've got it, and then you step in, right? So this moment, that stillness, that space is actually where you've allowed stillness to come in order to support you. All right. So essentially, everything that you know as leaders, I'm sure a lot of you are here. You are very skilled, but when we tap into the soft skill aspect, the life skill aspect, we actually support everything that we know through the power of what we call embodied presence. So that's why we will look at stillness in these three areas, which I've noticed from my perspective so far. A lot of people have seen a lot of changes brought forward when they embody the essence behind these words. All right. So hopefully it's not going to look like a lecture, but I really wanted to provide you with backed up, researched information, right? So you're going to see that there was a recent study that was brought forward by Harvard Business Review in 2021, where we are talking about high-performing leaders. They aren't the one that just act fast, and they are the one that process deeper. And very much I can definitely add from my own experience when I got the chance to talk with a lot of leaders from different places, because I actually work with a lot of international clients. And very much, this is very much what they said. It's when they allow themselves that moment to tap in with themselves in the morning routine, even if it's one check in with themselves, to be into that zone, to embody that presence. They are much more focused, they're much more charismatic, they're much more present, and they to project that sense of safety, trust, clarity, transparency, everything that you really want to bring forward that really help them to be very good leaders. And nowadays, you're going to see that this is something I've seen a lot with women as well, because we are very intuitive. We are also very emotionally in tuned. And when we give ourselves that space, to be able to be with ourselves, to check with ourselves, and then take that step forward, it very much changes the quality of awareness that we have within ourselves and within our surrounding. So the first model is actually the one that I've inspired myself from the DBT, which is a therapeutic model that was developed by Dr. Marsha Linehan. So it's very useful when we want to know how to regulate our emotion, build stable relationship, and in the line of leadership, it really allows us to have that sense of grace and accountability to exist. Because sometimes we may find ourselves like juggling between two states. Either we are too rational or rigid, or we are too emotional and maybe unstable. So it's always about finding that middle ground, that middle path that really allows us to tap into what's the most reasonable thing to do. And this is what we call the wise mind. The wise mind is that intersection between the rational aspect and the emotional aspect. But for us to be able to go there, that's why we need that stillness. That's why we need that space to be able to do that. So when we tap into the wise mind aspect, this is where we give ourselves permission to feel what's happening, right? And it doesn't need to be long. It can be just a few seconds you're giving to yourself to check in instead of letting it like bottle up, which leads to leadership burnout, right? So you take the time to feel through, you allow yourself to assess the external data to what is it that's happening in your external environment, and how are you connecting or resonating with what's happening outside by checking how is that touching you inside. All right. And as you allow yourself to ponder about these, then this is where you have the power to choose how you want to respond. Because we human beings, we are creatures of habits. Sometimes it can happen that we would just get like an autopilot mode of way of reacting to things, which may not always be the best thing for us, or for our clients, or for our teammates, or for other company. But if we give ourselves that moment to really take a step back with intention, this is how we change the quality of our reaction, and we make it become a response, a mindful and thoughtful response. All right, so this is actually what you want to cultivate when you're working with the wise mind. All right, so yeah, so essentially, this is really what that is. Don't worry too much about the theoretical part there. The only thing you really want to take out of it is the wise mind is the balance. This is what we call homeostasis. This is what we call the equilibrium that you really want to get between your head and your heart. All right, and if you really want to know how this works in real time, so it has like 4 steps really. First is before you going into a certain decision, take that time to pause. Whether it's one breath, It's really or sitting down or taking a step back and take the time to really feel what is stirring inside of you. If you feel that there is maybe a conflict that you need to say to someone, whether it's a loved one, whether it's a decision that you had to make or to take, that was not difficult, but that was the most reasonable thing to do, right? And then this is that moment you need to give it to yourself, right? And you take the time to name it. What is it that I'm feeling at this moment? Number three, ask yourself to really think whether this is true. I'm sure maybe some of you have heard about this acronym, the thinking. So for you to check with yourself, is this your inner critic or is this your intuition that's speaking to you? Ask yourself, is this true? If you feel yourself going into some negative cognitive belief or negative self-talk, allow yourself to say, is this true? Is this helpful? Is this inspiring? Is this necessary? Is this kind? Right? So every time when you look at your hand, just remember about these five little things when you think, because everything you're holding in your hands, right? So that's one way. That's one moment of pause that you can actually allow yourself to embrace in the here and now. So that was essentially when we allow ourselves to practice these moments of stillness, it really helps us to recheck, rewire, create a different pathway, the way that we are approaching our decision. And this is how we bring meaningful changes in our life through introspection, reflection, whatever you want to call it. But at the end of the day, this is one way about us talking about, let's say, self awareness. So, now the next thing that we want to look at whenever we are talking about stillness, definitely stillness, it helps you to create a space of processing your emotions. We all know as leaders, whether it's within corporate or outside of corporate, whatever responsibilities, different hats of responsibilities we gotta wear, it's quite emotional sometimes. It is, right? And sometimes we have to wear that brave face as we move forward. So this is very much when you give yourself that moment of stillness, that moment of grace. So this is where you allow yourself to step into your power as someone who feels, but also someone who is strong in his or her feelings. So this is also another way with the 𝐸 formula where you can allow yourself to experience your emotions, to honor them without them flooding you. Have you ever felt like you really want to say something, but then it feels so flooded over your head where you feel this is so much for me. I can't see beyond. I'm so overwhelmed. We feel so distressed. And this is where, when you give yourself that time, which we talk about the wise mind, you take the time to pause, you name what is there, because you cannot address something that you have not named. Else, if it's anxiety, allow yourself to acknowledge and recognize it's anxiety. Maybe I'm feeling frustrated by this person or this situation or this decision. Maybe I'm feeling very much angry, right? Because every emotion, they deserve to be heard. They really do. But it all depends about how we are allowing these emotions to be heard that really makes the difference. Which again, reaction versus response. All right? So you're going to see that the wise mind, the three N's, maybe some of you could be more comfortable with the wise mind formula, or some of you could be more connecting with the three N's. But it's almost the same, right? It's almost the same. It's just about you getting to normalize your state of being, your emotion, anything that's going through, and not getting stuck with that, but taking the step forward. Why is it now I know what I'm feeling? What can I do for my highest good? What can I do for the highest good of my loved ones, my children, my colleagues, my company, anybody who is under your care? And then you move forward. And this is what we call about navigating that emotion. Maybe in the past, you could have reacted a certain way that led to whatever consequence, but we have the power to change this response. Certainly, we are creatures of habits, but we are also evolutionary beings as well, isn't it? Right? So, this is one of the things we name what's there, we normalize it. It's okay. It's normal for me to feel that way, but that's not the end, my friends. Don't stay there. Based upon what I'm feeling now, how can I take the next step forward in a way that really helps me in the present situation? This is what we walk the walk, rather than talk the talk. Okay? So, this is one of the things there. When you create a space for your emotions, it very much allows you to tap into a depth that really makes you feel much more present with yourself and your feelings. And lastly, it's relational presence. Okay. So I think personally, this is one of the greatest strengths a leader has. The charismatic, emotionally intelligent, team building, leadership, everything. But you will know that there is someone who knows leadership as a relational skill when he gets in the room, his body language, and everything, just his energy when he comes in, it really maybe grounds you, or maybe makes you feel, oh, he's here now, or she's here now, or they are here now. It's gonna be all right. I'm going to feel safe. So please remember that at the bottom of the hierarchy of needs, Maslow's hierarchy of needs, the first pillar is about safety. We all crave, we yearn for safety in any kind of relationship, whether it's personal, professional, platonic, anything that is. And the moment that a leader understands that trust is important, not through the words, but how it is felt and how it is projected, this is very much what makes a difference. This is where we talk about coherence. This is where we talk about co-regulation. It's just that when the person is here, you feel very safe to talk to the person. But the leader is a human being as well. So that's why in the beginning we talked about, let's say, the importance of the wise mind. We also talked about the importance of naming, normalizing, navigating. It's just for us to be able to do our own inner work from our sense, to do our own regulation. This is one of my own, let's say, professional ethics. It's I will never ever tell anybody to do anything if I haven't done it myself, right? Whether I've been working, let's say, when I was as a law student, when I was working, let's say, as a healer, as a teacher in different industry. This is where I've been wellness, tourism, education, corporate, all about these things. It's always about I shall bring to you the things that I've seen people do and I've done it as well. And this is actually what's actually here in the slide. All right, everything comes is experience, is what is it that you're allowing yourself to bring into your reality. And the Dear Woman model has been inspired from the Dear Man model in DBT, and it's very much about how to stay anchored by practicing communication skills. Okay, so very much it's about us. Let's say every time we are facing conflict, we don't like conflict, isn't it? Nobody does, but we have to face it, and how we actually face it is actually what makes a difference. All right, so here you're going to see that it's important for us first to know what the situation is about, describe it in a very clear way, grounded way, express as well what is it that you feel so that you feel a sense of connection. That's why connecting with your team is very important, and it's important in your communication. You're very clear, you bring forward your values, you reinforce what is your goals, your values, and shared goal to provide a sense of unity. But it's also important for you as well as a leader to witness the body language of the people that trust you. And also, anything you bring on the table, you need to own it. own your why through accountability and everything that comes with it. And as we talked before, finding the middle way. That is the most reasonable thing to do. That's very much required in the here and now. And definitely anchor the A, anchor yourself. That's why your body always speaks louder than the words. And lastly, it's about how we work through collaborative partnership, listening, everything that you know. All is there, but it's just how you do it that really makes the difference, right? So that was actually the Dear Woman model, all right? And so, yeah, essentially, you're going to see that the interconnectedness between these three principles. So first, we look at strategic capacity. Stillness gives us the mental spaciousness to plan, align, and process deeply. Secondly, we looked at emotional leadership. Stillness supports self regulation to foster trust, empathy, and wise communication. And lastly, it was relational presence, which allows us to co regulate with others, create safety and connection in every interaction. Now, lastly, you're going to see that when it comes to today's workshop, I've created on my website, there is only free content, all right? And I've created like a 7 days journal, journaling prompts. You can definitely go there and download. That's going to be some companion material when it comes to today's workshop. And you're going to find a lot of, when I have time, I write some free articles, some substacks, and some journaling prompts on different themes, just like this one. All right, so I believe that is us. Thank you so much. Does anybody have any questions? Okay. Right, so I see I have a question. What led you from law to holistic healing? Okay, so to be very honest, I wasn't the one that chose law to start with, because my education was in food science. All right, and back then, because I had got scholarship, so my parents got me to choose between medicine and law. But I liked law, but it's not something I would see myself doing in the long run. So when I was studying law, on the side, I was already learning Reiki. I already studied different kinds of healing. I was already working like side by side. And then when I had to make a decision, then this is where I shifted completely. And I went to India. I went to different places to really um, find what is it that I resonate with. And I need to tell you, back then, very critical mind. I had a very loud inner critic, right? Very loud inner critic, very judgmental, everything that is required for us to be very good lawyers. But then at some point I had to make some choice, and I trusted the path ahead. I trusted the path. Thank you so much for this question, because holistic healing, I've been able to explore so many things, um, explore the essence of yoga beyond the asana, explore the philosophy of yoga, meditation. I'm also a clinical hypnotherapist, life coach in trauma, so everything else, because I really love working with people. Yeah, in that way. Yes. So
Thank you so much, Pooja. Really appreciated.
thank you so much.
Thank you for
All right.
answering the question that in the chat box. And we have few more questions from our audience. We directly post it to your email. You can respond there.
Sure.
Yes.
Thank
Thank you
you.
so much
Thank
for
you
your
so
valuable
much.
time, Priyanka. Bye bye.